Hello guys, welcome back to our latest video. We have quite a few faults to show you here. We've got a bunch of minor faults and we've also got some serious faults that have occurred. Oh, and a new thing that you're going to see now. This has been asked for many times. You will see the speed of the car shown on the screen here. This speed is taken from the car's CCTV camera, and it is usually a little bit less than what the actual speed was. So it's roughly speaking 10% or 2 or 3 miles an hour under what the actual speed was. So let's jump into the first fault. So we're making our way along. Look at the speed, 30 miles an hour road, 31, 32 shown on the camera. Now as I say, this was actually 34, 35 in the car, so we had to get the speed right back down there. So that is the first fault of today, serious fault for going up too high above the speed limit. Okay, the next fault we've got here is for signals. The instruction is to turn right at the end of the road where the traffic lights are. So the learner driver brings the signal on here for the lane change. Now what should have happened is that signal should have been cancelled and reapplied at the lights, but it was left on this whole time. As you can see, there's an opening there to the car park. Misleading signal, marked as a minor because nothing serious came from it. Now they've been brought here to the car park and asked to reverse the car into any bay of their choice, and they actually do very well here. Get the car in, first attempt. I'll show you a picture on the screen of how it looked on the car's camera. Happy with that, right in the middle of the bay, nice and central. Good job. Now, there's some problems with speeds here. This is a 20 mile an hour zone. We've got some speed bumps, but we don't want to be going too slow for the bumps. Have a look. Sometimes the speedo will disappear if it's less than 5 miles an hour. So there was real issues with speed coming up this road. Going too slow is sometimes just as bad as going too fast. Now as they come up here, the only option is a right turn. Now, they didn't signal right on approach. They should have had the signal on about here or earlier, but they actually remembered on their own and they put their signal on, okay? So minor fault there. However, there is also a serious fault for being unbelievably slow. Crawling pace, snail's pace. I actually had to get involved and say to the learner, we need to get a bit of a move on here. There was no reason for going that slow, there was people being held up, so that's why they picked up that serious fault, not making enough progress along the road. Now this fault here, there was a left signal applied which is not required. That sign just says at the bend, there's a bend, the road goes left, so you don't need a left signal to curve round like that. So that was a minor fault for use of signals there. Signal not required. And let's see if we can analyse this section. The instruction was to go towards Kirkcaldy A907. So if we have a look at the sign, we can clearly see it's the middle lane. I've highlighted that. Okay, so this middle lane, and the learner does take the middle lane. So at the moment, no issues. From this middle lane, you can only access the far left lane of these 3 lanes that you're about to see. Now I'm going to try and show that on the screen. So there's that sign that we had a wee minute ago. We're only interested in this section. Let's get rid of that section on the left. This was the middle lane. It only gives you access to the left lane where the blue circle is. Had they been on that right hand lane back there, they would have been able to go middle or right. So what lane did they take? This one. They don't have access to that lane from where they came from. They got into that lane without doing any checks to make sure that nobody else was going to be there. So that was a serious fault for changing lanes that they didn't have access to. We say this over and over. You have to know these roundabouts like the back of your hand. If you go in for a driving lesson or a driving test or a mock test and you don't know them, it's not impossible to pass. Maybe you'll be able to do it, but it's not easy. You've got to get to know the pathways and what goes where. Full videos available on our tutorial page, on our tutorial playlist on our YouTube channel. I would advise you to check them out. Making our way up to the next city, traffic lights turning right. This is quite a tricky junction here. This is what we call our quick fit junction. There's a right turn. There was no faults recorded here though. The learner dealt with this really well. The lights change to green, they move forward into the middle and they create a little bit of a curve here, and they're looking to take the first chance, and they did, so that was a good job. Here the learners pulled up on the left for a normal stop and they get asked to move off again. The blind spot check over the right shoulder was weak. They checked to the side a little bit, but they didn't physically turn around and check. No serious fault came from it, but it's something that has to be right every time you move off. This is a bit of a strange one, although it actually happens quite often. There's a couple of birds in the road, mucking about, messing about. Look at them, having a bit of a scrap there. Look how close they come to getting squashed. The learner should have sounded the horn, but what they did was they held back on the speed. So the car behind doesn't know why they're not accelerating up to 30. So especially in these electric cars that are quite quiet, if a bird has been a bit stubborn, you're better scaring it with a horn as opposed to splattering it. Luckily, those birds survived. I have no idea how they survived, but they did. There's a pull up on the left coming here. This was the most common place that the wheels get scraped. It didn't happen here, but it was close. I would advise not going in at such a big angle. Most common fault here is turning the wheel too much. They did get off it on this occasion, but I'd still like to see a little bit more of a subtle angle. Next fault here for signalling left for the roundabout, but not realising there was a road there. Just a minor fault for an early signal. Now this is the next serious fault that's about to happen here. Again, the instruction was to turn left at the roundabout first exit. Have a look at the lanes, there's two separate lanes. Have a look at the position this learner takes right over the top of both the lanes. Look in the mirror, the red car cannot come up because of where the learner is. I had to say to them, come over a little bit. I had to step in and say, come over a little bit more, and watch what happens when the learner comes over. The red car in that mirror starts to come up our side. So we had an impact on that other car there for position. The moral of the story here, and the chat that we had after this, was take into account what's going on behind you, beside you, diagonally in front of you, diagonally behind you. Always know who is where, what are their intentions, are you affecting them, is there something that you can do to make their life a little bit easier. All-round awareness all the time. So there we have it, guys. Bunch of faults. Hopefully this has been helpful. Leave us comments in the YouTube channel underneath the video, and we'll get back to you if you've got any questions or concerns or even requests of videos that you would like us to make for you. I'll catch you next time.